Gaza health authorities confirmed more civilians' deaths in the last 24 hours. They confirmed that the number of murders perpetrated by the occupier amounts to 29,400. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, denounced the beginning of a media campaign coordinated from the United States and sectors of the national right wing to stigmatize the Venezuelan migrants in the United States. And on Thursday, the Caribbean island of St. Lucia celebrates the 45th anniversary of its independence from various political and cultural activities. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, in another bloody day of the genocidal Israeli occupation, several civilians were killed and wounded in the Strip. 80% of the victims are women and children. The official number of murders perpetrated by the occupiers in Gaza is close to 30,000. According to the latest bulletin of the health authorities, there are 29,410 fatalities, of which more than 23,000 are women and children. 69,465 people have already been injured, mainly women and children. The situation of the injured is getting worse as the hospital system is under severe siege by the Zionists, who have closed 12 of the 36 hospitals in the enclave. More than 20 United Nations agencies led by the World Health Organization denounced the Israeli government's attacks on humanitarian assistance in the Gaza Strip. Other world organizations have also joined in this denunciation after the Zionist occupiers attacked a shelter for the staff of the Doctors Without Borders. The event took place on February 20th in the town of Al-Mawasi in Khan Yunis. 2 people were killed and dozens injured. They also condemned the inhuman siege of the health system. Only 12 of the 36 hospitals in the Strip are still functioning. Meanwhile, disease, pollution and hunger continue to gain ground in the Palestinian enclave. In the Netherlands, several countries participate on Thursday in the public hearings of the International Court of Justice on the legal consequences of Israel policies and practices in the occupied Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem. The Chinese representative called the Palestinian issue a litmus test for the collective conscience of humanity and demanded a comprehensive ceasefire. Iran expressed that the Israeli occupation began with the illegal formation of the regime in 1948 in place of the former British Mandate of Palestine, displacing more than 700. Ireland considered that Israel's self-defense exceeds the limits of international law, while Jordan stated that Israel must end its occupation of all occupied Palestinian territories in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza. On Wednesday, Russia accused the United States before the International Court of Justice of maintaining an irresponsible approach that has weakened the political processes to resolve the Israeli occupation in Palestine. During his speech, the Russian ambassador to the Netherlands, Vladimir Evgenievich Taravrin, assured that the current wave in the Middle East is a result of ignoring the United Nations Security Council resolutions. The diplomat accused Washington of sending military supplies to Tel Aviv, causing a greater tension before the international community for the resolution of the conflict between the Israeli regime and Hamas. In this context, the High Diplomat pointed out that Tel Aviv regime continues to carry out illegal aggressions against the civilian population in the Gaza Strip.
Mr. President, distinguished members of the Court, it's an honor for me to be representing the Russian Federation at these hearings. Seizing this opportunity, I would like to congratulate you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and all the new judges of the Court upon election to your respective positions. We trust that the Court, in its new composition, will continue making its immeasurable contribution to peaceful resolution of disputes and development of international law. Mr. President, the current proceedings originate in the adoption by the General Assembly of Resolution 77/247 back in December 2022. When adopting the resolution, the General Assembly was gravely concerned by the tension and violence in the recent period throughout the occupied Palestinian territories. The Assembly noted the continuing systematic violation of the human rights of the Palestinian people by Israel, the occupying power, including that arising from the excessive use of force and military operations causing death and injury to Palestinian civilians. The Assembly also spoke of the arbitrary imprisonment and detention of Palestinians, the use of collective punishment, the closure of areas, the confiscation of land, the establishment and expansion of settlements, the destruction of property and infrastructure, the demolition of Palestinian homes, the forced displacement of civilians, and the disastrous humanitarian situation and the critical socio-economic and security situation in the Gaza Strip.
The United Kingdom's Maritime Trade Operations Agency reported on Thursday that another vessel was attacked off the Yemeni coast. The agency assures that there is no clarity of those responsible for the aggression. The events took place on Thursday morning, 70 nautical miles off the Yemeni port city of Aden. The agency reiterated its call for caution to all vessels in the area. Since the beginning of the genocidal operation against Gaza, the Houthis launched an operation against ships transporting goods to Israel. So far, the actions have not left any dead or wounded, but have resulted in millions of dollars in losses. On Thursday, the first ministerial meeting of the G20 under Brazilian presidency held its second and last day of work as part of the activities prior to the summit that will join the heads of state and government in November. In the framework of working meeting, European Union's foreign policy chief Josep Borrell assured that the G20 foreign ministers agreed on the need for a two-state solution as the only way to peace in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. On the other hand, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called on the structures of the regions of the Global South to participate in the G20, while reiterating his support for the candidatures of Brazil and India, with the interests of the African states jointly assured. In this sense, the Russian leader called on the integration of the Global South to participate fully in the work of the G20. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. All the stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, denounced the beginning of a media campaign coordinated by the U.S. media and sectors of the national right wing to stigmatize the Venezuelan migrants in the United States. The head of state affirmed that extremist factors and the big information agencies of Washington seek to point out Venezuelan migrants as criminals and link them to criminal organizations. The president also demanded absolute respect for Venezuelans in the United States from the U.S. government. He rejected the attempts to instrumentalize Venezuelan migrants to attack the government of the country. President Maduro warned that the enemies of the country are getting ready to spread lies and launch false positives regarding this year's presidential elections.
As Comrade Alfred Nazareth Nanez denounced today, the campaign that started today, a campaign started today, from the government of the United States, from the Voice of America, The Voice of America is the portal of the White House directed by Juan Gonzalez. From that portal, right there, they create a content, then launch it and replicate it in dozens of portals to news agencies and media of the right wing and of the world system in Latin America and the world. And today, they started a campaign to stigmatize the noble, hardworking, and decent Venezuelan migration abroad, saying that the Venezuelan migration in the United States are criminals. Who says that? Julio Borges, Machado, the government of the United States, and it turns out that those people who had to migrate as a result of the criminal sanctions of the economic asphyxiation of the brutal blockade, those people are a noble, humble, hard-working people. We love Venezuelan migrants, and our love makes us tell them to come back. We are waiting for you here. This is your land. Enough xenophobia.
In this context, the head of state demanded absolute respect for Venezuelan migrants from the government of the United States.
Of course, CNN in English and Spanish, the Voice of America, which is the U.S. government, the agency AP, Associated Press, which is of the CIA, they produce it and sees that the haters, the enemies of the country, reproduce their discourse against Venezuelan migrants. We have to denounce it and demand absolute respect from the U.S. government for the Venezuelan people, for the migrants of Venezuela in the U.S.
Also, President Maduro urged to be alert to actions that seek to disrupt the peace and stability of Venezuela.
Let's really get ready, because in presidential election campaign years, the enemies of Venezuela will be able to mount false positives and lies and here in the world to attack us, but let no one take us out of our agenda. Our agenda is to recover this country and lead it to economic prosperity, to the recovery of social welfare, and to a great electoral victory in 2024, when it comes, where it comes, how it comes. Let's really get ready.
After the collapse of an illegal mine in the state of Bolivar is progressing, government authorities reported that personnel are working to transfer the affected people to the command and population control post in the city of Paragua. Officials from the National Risk Management System, security agencies, and the Simón Bolívar Humanitarian Task Force continue to set up tents for the pre-hospital care of civilians. It is also expected that the autopsy rooms will be completed with specialists in forensic medicine for those who require it. In Cuba, the President of the United States National Association of States Departments of Agriculture, Ted McKinney, arrived on Wednesday to establish commercial ties between countries. The U.S. delegation arrived in Havana with the objective of identifying future business relations with new economic actors that will dynamize the production processes. They also seek to strengthen ties of friendship and explore the possibilities of trade and cooperation between the two countries. The president of NASDA expressed that they are optimistic about the possibilities of future cooperation in the sector and expressed satisfaction with the decision to create this new economic actor in the country. It was also stated that they want not only their production exports to grow, but also the bilateral trade relationships. In Cuba, the President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, presented his novel El Mar que me regalas, The Sea You Give Me. The presentation of El Mar que me regalas, published by Asirema Publishing House, took place at the 32nd International Book Fair of Havana, which is being held these days in that city. The novel was also presented at the 19th International Book Fair of Venezuela 2023 FILBEN in Caracas. In this context, Rodriguez emphasized that the literary text is a detective story and becomes another work towards tragedy written in a vertiginous way. Rodriguez was grateful for the opportunity to be in the Cuban capital presenting his work.
Last year, we were presenting the Cuban edition of La Piel del Lagarto, of the collected stories that were built mainly between the years 2014-2016. And we have the immense fortune of being here with you today presenting a text that was haunting me for 20 years, which is a novel that was written in one go between the month of February 2023 and July 2023. That morning, I have a very present. The morning I thought I had finished the novel, a morning in July 2023, I write in the mornings. It's the only free time I have, very early in the morning, between 7 and 9:30 in the morning. And I remember having finished, having sent it to a great friend of mine, who checked the chapters and checked me a little for the typos that always appear. And I put him Cosimo, I finished, and he answered me back, "That's what you think?" And he was absolutely right.
Nicaragua commemorated the 90th anniversary of the death of the revolutionary and anti-imperialist leader Augusto Cesar Sandino. Several activities are being held in tribute of the revolutionary patriot, including wreath-laying at the monument to the homeland heroes, cultural events and parades throughout the city of Managua. During the commemorations, the Sandinistas youth reiterated its commitments with the nation and the ideas of the resistance leader who managed to expel the United States forces from Nicaragua. In addition, the country's security forces marched along the streets of the capital to remember the anti-imperialist legacy left by the man who was known as the General of the Free Men. In the framework of this celebration, President Daniel Ortega declared that Sandino's legacy runs in the blood of every Nicaraguan in the battle against imperialism and socialism.
Fíjense, este es un resumen del mes de febrero.
Every day, this is a summary of the month of February, and every day, there are heroic dates. There is the holy blood of the heroes and martyrs in every municipality of our country, in the battle against imperialism, in the battle against somocism. There is not a day in which the blood of an art, of a hero, is not present.
On Thursday, the Caribbean island of St. Lucia celebrates the 45th anniversary of its independence with various political and cultural activities. Precisely on February 22, 1979, St. Lucia became an independent state of the Commonwealth of Nations associated with the United Kingdom. In this sense, locals organized meetings to remember and maintain their cultural legacy and their community spirit that symbolized the island's colonial history and resistance. For this Caribbean island, this celebration is a continuous journey towards growth and unity. It is worth noting that in St. Lucie in July 2021, the Labour Party won the general elections led by Philippe Pierre, who became the 9th Prime Minister of the island nation. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Haiti, the lawyer of former First Lady Martine Moïse rejected accusations linking her to the assassination of her husband, Jovenel Moïse. Paul Turner, lawyer of the former First Lady, declared on Wednesday that the accusations against Martine Moïse are politically motivated. Turner stated he was surprised by press reports published this week detailing the accusations against Martine Moïse and dozens of other suspects, including the former Prime Minister and the former police chief. He also questioned the judge's report, pointing out that the Haitian government authorities did not contact his client in the required manner and that the He and other members of his legal team have contacted the executive to ask for clarifications. In this context, Turner also accused the government of Prime Minister Ariel Henry of ordering the prosecution. The Ministers of Economy and Finance of Ecuador, Juan Carlos Vega, confirmed on Wednesday that as of April, the value-added tax, VAT, will increase from 12% to 15% as a measure to reduce the fiscal deficit and finance the fight against organized crime, declared by the President of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, as an internal armed conflict. Vega confirmed that Noboa will use the prerogative conferred in the fiscal reform that he pushed through, where it was proposed that the VAT be raised from 12% to 15% permanently. The measure is based on the law to tackle the internal armed conflict and to actively sustain the successful campaign to combat insecurity. Additionally, the head of the Finance Ministry explained that a technical report is ready to be delivered to the President Daniel Noboa with the basis for this increase as of April 1st. In Argentina, members of the Federation of the Argentine Healthcare Workers Association participated in a 24-hour strike. This measure was called in view of the intransigence of the business chambers in the negotiations to address wage improvements. Héctor Daer, who is also a director of the Workers' Central Union, stated that during the strike only the guards will be covered and only emergencies will be attended. Daer blamed the country's leadership for what happened and pointed out that this is an unprecedented rupture among the actors of that space and assured that these policies will be unsustainable for the people. China's Coast Guard said it expelled a Philippine vessel sailing in the vicinity of Huangjian Island despite warnings from Beijing. The maritime institution said that the Philippines Bureau of Aquatic Resources and Fisheries Vessel 3002 was expelled for illegally trespassing in the vicinity of the atoll. Chinese Coast Guard spokesman Gan Zhu said that Beijing maintains its undisputed sovereignty over Huangjian Island and firmly opposes violations by Philippine vessels. Gan Zhu said that this has been repeated several times in February when they have responded in the same way. In France, the passage of Storm Louis to the north and west of the country puts at least 26 departments on alert. The meteorological authorities informed that the territories of Hautes, Pyrenees and the Nice, Marne and Pyrenees Atlantiques have been added to the list of the 19 already announced. According to specialists, the wind forecast exceeds 100 km per hour in areas close to the coast, which indicates that abundant rainfall will develop. While the departments of Vendée and Sévères are on orange alert due to the threat of flooding. Following the weather situation, the state-owned Railroad Company of France said that several train lines will be suspended. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.